Hello there, Saber fans. Shameem here. You've got questions, I've got answers. Welcome to my first ever Q&A session. Let's get the ball rolling. What was your very first install? How did it go? And what advice would you give to those who are looking to start doing their own installs but have no idea where to really start? The first thing I ever did was a conversion on a Master Replica's Anakin Revenge of the Sith lightsaber. The advice that I have for those who are looking to get started in the world of custom sabers is the same advice that I followed myself before doing my first conversion. I read through a lot of the forum posts and tutorials that were listed on the Custom Saber Shop website. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then I asked a lot of questions. I joined Facebook Saber groups and posted specific questions that I had about things that were unclear to me. Would you be willing to accept a commission for a Jar Jar sound font? No. Would you ever do the Ecto Saber from Masked Rider? I don't know what that is, so probably not. Why are you amazing? Because. Be honest, is there a particular hilt that you absolutely hate working on? Crossguards. Favorite lightsaber color? Probably golden yellow. If you could build a saber for a Jedi from the movies, who would it be for and why? Probably Mark Hamill, just because he's awesome and he's everybody's hero. Who are your top 3 and bottom 3 canon Star Wars characters and why? Top 3 would be Palpatine, Obi-Wan, and Luke Skywalker. Palpatine because he's the mastermind behind all of the prequels and then into the original trilogy as well. Obi-Wan specifically because Ewan McGregor is an amazing actor and I really, really loved his performance in all 3 of the prequel movies. And Luke Skywalker because he's our original hero who went from nothing to Jedi Master. Least favorite would be General Grievous. I hate his coughing in episode 3, and I really disliked what they did with his character. I didn't like any moment that he was on screen. Jar Jar, because of reasons. And probably every new character that they introduced in the Aftermath books. I just really disliked everything about the Aftermath books, including most, if not all, of the new characters. But specifically, I think Admiral Sloane, the new female Imperial officer. I feel like they tried to do an Admiral Dala type character. Admiral Dala is from the old expanded universe, the Legends now, and I really loved her character. She was this super cold, hard, strong female Imperial officer, one of the few female Imperial officers, and it just feels like Sloane is like Admiral Dala light, and I don't like her. Even though you're not a huge fan of NeoPixels, will you accept commissions for those kinds of saber builds? No. How did you get into this hobby, and what was your first real saber? In the winter of 2014, I was looking for a Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan Kenobi style lightsaber, which was my favorite design, and I discovered the Saber Forge Redeemer, which was very close. So I got that, and then, as I mentioned, I started converting some Master Replicas lightsabers, and then started doing MHS builds, using parts from the Custom Saber Shop to build my own sabers, and then after that, after doing some conversions and some of my own custom builds, I started taking on commissions through local friends and family for other conversions and installs, and then it sort of snowballed from there. If left up to you, what elements from the expanded universe would you like to see resurrected or reintroduced into the canon by Disney? I'm a huge Knights of the Old Republic Revan fan, so I would love to have him canonized explicitly, following a lot of the story beats from specifically Knights of the Old Republic. That's something that they could incorporate into the existing new canon that they have without contradicting anything. As much as I love Rey and Kylo and The Force Awakens and all of that new canon, I really, really love the expanded universe and the new Jedi Order time period, the Yuuzhan Vong. Some people don't like it, and some people do. I'm one of the people who really like the Yuuzhan Vong, so I would love to see Luke as the Grand Master of the new Jedi Order, a new Jedi Council, the 3 solo kids. I would love to see all of that. It's never going to happen because that contradicts everything that they have now going on with the new canon, but that's something that I would love to have seen. What is your absolute favorite lightsaber meme? It's not specifically a lightsaber meme, but this is my favorite Star Wars meme and my favorite meme, period. Other than just being a great movie, what is your one hope or fan wish for The Last Jedi? I want Luke to have an ass-kicking scene using either the Force, his lightsaber, or both, and I want him to survive. On a scale of 1 to 10, how awesome would a Starkiller miniseries on Netflix be? I have no love for the Starkiller character or the Force Unleashed story in the games, so 1? What's needed to convert the Black Series Force Effects sabers? You should check out the tutorials on the Custom Saber Shop. They have parts lists and step-by-step instructions for how to convert most, if not all, of the Hasbro Black Series. Least favorite lightsaber, or do you have an unpopular opinion about a subject regarding Star Wars? The Obi-Wan Phantom Menace Attack of the Clones lightsaber is my least favorite design from the film. Unpopular opinion, Phantom Menace is the best prequel film. Could you do a video showing how to build a fully functional NeoPixel lightsaber? No. If you could choose any hilt, parts, pieces, or any internals on the market, what would you build? I would build a vintage Graflex with Crystal Focus 9 whenever it's released, with a custom machined one-of-a-kind crystal chamber. Is your hand going to be 100% okay, or will you have ongoing trouble? Doctors expect a full recovery. There's my epic battle scar right there. For those of you who may not have been aware, and which is why I haven't been on YouTube, I sustained an injury to the tendon on my knuckle on my right hand, my dominant hand, unfortunately, and was unable to use it for about 2 weeks. There was a piece of metal wire which got shoved into the tendon. It was on the floor of my carpet, and I was on my hands and knees picking stuff up, and I went down on my knuckles like this to support my weight, and the metal wire was sticking up out of the carpet. I didn't see it, and it went right into the tendon, and so they had to do surgery to take that out. I couldn't use my hand for about 2 weeks, but the scar so we got rid of the bandages last week. I have a scar, and it's fully closed up. It still twinges a little bit, but doctors expect a full recovery, thank the maker. What was your favorite custom saber you ever built for anyone? Anyone would include me, and my favorite custom saber that I've ever done is probably the Sacrifice, the post-Death Star explosion Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber. And it's my favorite because it has such a it has a full backstory to it. It's not just a lightsaber with a little bit of a, like, this is what a so-and-so kind of Jedi might use. Like, it has a full backstory, and you can go and watch my Sacrifice videos to get that backstory. Did you do anything embarrassing when you were whacked out on painkillers after the surgery? No. And that's primarily because I really didn't take any pain meds apart from some Advil. Luckily, the pain was not too terrible post-op. Will you be making any more saber building tutorials? Absolutely. If you were given the choice to fix one thing wrong with people today, what would it be? I believe that ignorance is the root cause of all evil, and so I would want people to be more open-minded so that they could explore learning new perspectives and hopefully do away with some of the ignorance in their lives. You can walk out of the Lucasfilm archives with one item. What do you choose? The Hero Revenge of the Sith lightsaber that Ewan McGregor used. What is the most unique lightsaber you've ever made? Again, probably the Sacrifice because of the whole backstory. Which Graflex would you say you'd prefer? The A New Hope version. What is your favorite lightsaber from canon Star Wars material? Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan Kenobi. What is your favorite part of the custom saber building process when it's done? No, I joke. Soldering. I really enjoy soldering, especially wires to pads. So like wire to wire is, you know, it is what it is, but wires to pads, either on LEDs or on the soundboards, I love doing that. Which Graflex was your most favorite and challenging to work on? I did a vintage A New Hope Graflex build for a customer once, and that was a lot of fun because A, it's a vintage, so like, yay, I get to touch a vintage, and B, oh my god, it's a vintage. So like, it was challenging because if I screw it up, you can't replace a vintage Graflex. Holy cow. Do you accept the Grey Jedi as part of the Star Wars lore? Okay, let me say something about Grey Jedi. It's a stupid mother. They're the stupidest. I can't even believe why some people would say the stupidest thing. I don't understand. Why not just do Grey Sith instead? Oh my. Ever heard of. So yeah, that's what I think about Grey Jedi. Out of all the commissions you have done, do you have a few personal favorites? Basically anything with shattered weathering or with shattering, especially if it's shattered but then also is a unique texture or a unique design aesthetic to it. So like the Ravager, which was the cracked bone curved bane hilt that I did, or the frostbite, which looked like cracked ice and frozen water. That was really cool. Those types, or the thunderstruck, which was like purple or blue with like red lightning cracks going through it. Those were really cool. I really enjoyed those. Can a sound font be made exclusively from Obi-Wan Kenobi quotes? Probably, but I probably won't be making one. Has your passion for making lightsabers only grown, or have there been days where you had thought about doing something else? There's definitely been times where I'm like, I want nothing more to do with this, but those times come and go pretty quickly, and you know, I love Star Wars, I love lightsabers, so, I mean, it's the same with any job. There will be days where you're like, but most of the time, you enjoy doing what you're doing. Can I hug you? Absolutely! Have you considered using Battlefront 2 for lightsaber sound fonts? I probably won't be doing that. I'll leave that to other people who may want to do such things. What is your second favorite lightsaber? Second favorite is the Graflex. What are your favorite and least favorite lightsaber blade colors? Yellow and blue, and least favorite is the black dark saber. Not a fan of the dark saber at all. Other than that, like any other color, I don't mind any other color. I don't have a least favorite color, but the concept of the darksaber is not one that I personally enjoy. What is the hardest install you've ever done? Probably the Stubby Flex with the Prism, just because it was so tight. There was so little space in there. What timeline do you think Rian Johnson's new trilogy takes place in, and have you seen Blade Runner 2049? Old Republic time period of new trilogy stuff would be really cool, but I have no idea, of course, what time period it's going to be set in. And no, I have not seen the new Blade Runner. I actually haven't even seen the first Blade Runner, so my bad. What is your opinion on the evolution of lightsabers throughout the films, both in terms of the design and the fighting style? I have no problem with the design or the fighting styles as they've changed and evolved in the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and now the sequel trilogy. In the original trilogy, this is post Empire takeover of the Jedi Council, destroying, you know, all the Jedi. So the methods of creating lightsabers and lightsaber forms and all that would have been really lost to a lot of the galaxy. So you only really have Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is an old Jedi. You have Luke Skywalker, who's barely been trained, and you have Darth Vader, who in the first movie is going up against the man who wrecked him 20 years ago. So he's probably still feeling a little bit of hesitation and fear. He's not going to go full out against Obi-Wan, because he's kind of wary, I'm thinking. And then in episode 5, Luke is barely trained, so his fighting style is all over the place, and Vader doesn't want to kill Luke. He just wants to subdue him and bring him to the Emperor, or get Luke to join him. So Vader's not trying to kill Luke, so you know, the lightsaber fight is not like hella hardcore. And in Return of the Jedi, Luke is able to hold his own. He's got some more training and force powers going on. And then at the end of that fight, he starts going to the dark side and is able to overpower Vader very easily and very believably, because canonically Luke is stronger than Vader once he's able to, you know, fully embrace his force powers. In the prequel trilogy, it's the heyday of the Jedi Order. All the Jedi are fully trained. Their lightsabers don't need to be made using scavenged found parts. Everything is pristine and perfect and pretty. It makes sense. It's a different time period. And also, when the Jedi and the Sith fight each other, the heavily choreographed and flourishing and all that stuff, it makes sense to me, because it's like a game of chess that's being played 5-6 moves in advance of what's actually going on. You're predicting each other's moves. The Jedi are predicting the Sith's moves and vice versa, so you can only attack here, and if you're attacking there, you can only block here, and you know that next is going to be down there, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that. The way that Nick Gillard, the stunt coordinator for episodes 1, 2, and 3, talks about choreographing the fight, especially in Duel of the Fates, it's fascinating, and it makes total sense to me why and how that fighting style would be so different from what we see in the original trilogy. And now in the new trilogy, we've only really seen The Force Awakens so far. Last Jedi hasn't come out yet. But you know, Finn has been trained in the Stormtrooper arts of taking down Jedi, so he has some training with the stun baton, he has some training with melee weapons, so that explains why he's able to use the lightsaber, at least rudimentarily. And then Rey has a lot of training with her staff, and so then she's got the lightsaber as well. Kylo Ren has been wrecked at that point by taking the crossbow shot from Chewie to the gut. This is the gun that has sent stormtroopers flying 10 feet across the room, and Kylo just takes it and bends down to one knee. He's bleeding out, and he still goes and proceeds to have a lightsaber fight against two people. Kylo Ren is in pain. He's damaged. He's also emotionally compromised and distraught over having killed his father, and all of that dynamic light side dark side going on in his head. So he's not really in the game mentally or physically. He's still able to wreck Finn because Finn doesn't have Force sensitivity. But then once Rey is able to tap into the Force, she's getting kind of wrecked. She's barely holding her own against Kylo Ren, because she doesn't have any kind of training with the lightsaber or with the Force. But as soon as Kylo's like, you need a teacher, I can show you the ways of the ways of the Force, Rey remembers what Maz told her about close your eyes, let it fill you, the light, it's always been there. So she closes her eyes, she taps into her latent Force powers, and is able to take out Kylo Ren. So it's not a choreographed fight scene, because these are not Jedi and Sith at the heyday of their training, as we saw in episodes 1, 2, and 3. So you have a bit, but it's also a bit more savage than what we see in the original trilogy, because Rey and Kylo are trying to, they're all trying to hurt and attack and kill each other, So anyway, it's a long explanation, but I'm totally fine, and I really love the lightsaber designs and also the fight choreography between the three trilogies. What sound fonts do you recommend for an Old Republic style Sith or Jedi lightsaber? I don't really have much experience with the Old Republic besides Knights of the Old Republic coder, so apart from that sound font, I don't really have any recommendations to make, sorry. Do you think you'll make an Ezra 2.0 sound font now that the new season is out? At some point, probably. Which Saber commission was your favorite one to work on? I personally love doing Darth Nihilus lightsabers. They're just a lot of fun to install. Being as how Mark Hamill plays both Luke Skywalker and the Joker in voice acting, would you consider making a Mark Hamill Joker crossover saber font? Possibly? I'm selling a custom saber right now, but it doesn't seem to be selling. Any recommendations on how to promote the saber? Make sure you're not pricing it too high. Make sure that your pictures are nice and clean and crisp. If you don't already have a video, videos are always great for helping to sell a lightsaber. What other franchises are you into besides Star Wars? Lord of the Rings is my next big thing, and then I also love, Harry Potter, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, Avatar: The Last Airbender, a lot of other sci-fi fantasy things. What's the one hilt you will never part with? Sauron's Wrath. Do you have any other hobbies besides lightsabers? I play piano. Hello, I live in Brazil. How can I buy one of your sabers or any other sabers from companies like Saber Forge? Any sabers that I have for sale will be posted on my Facebook business page with a for sale written across the top, and then once it's sold, I will replace that with sold, so you know that it's not available anymore. As for ordering from other companies, visit their website. What's your favorite soundboard and why? Probably the Prism, the current version, which is 5.1. It's a nice mid-level range board. I don't like the complexity of the Crystal Focus, and with the current version, the Prism has the same motion sensitivity as the Crystal Focus, so it gives much more realistic swing and clash sensitivities, which is great. It has all the auxiliary features that I need, and it's small enough now that it can fit into pretty much any into any saber. If you had to choose, what kind of saber would you use, color and style? Color-wise would probably be a golden yellow or like an amber. I just really love that blade color. And if not that, then classic blue. Probably a 1.5 hand length, and I'd love to have a thin neck. How's your hand? Healing very well! I've always thought of a Doctor Who sonic screwdriver themed saber. Thoughts? I've actually made a couple Doctor Who sonic screwdriver themed lightsabers using the Saber Forge Consular as a base. You can check out, if you just search for Doctor Who lightsaber on my page, you'll see it. I've also seen people use David Tennant's and Matt Smith's sonic screwdrivers as the base or as direct inspiration for custom machined lightsabers, which have been really cool, and one day in the future I would love to own one of those. Where did your love of Star Wars come from? Same place as everyone else's love of Star Wars. Who do you think is the most underrated canon Jedi or Sith? Underrated Jedi, probably Plo Koon. I love him, especially from Jedi Power Battles with his yellow lightsaber. That was so good. He was such a great character. And underrated Sith, canon, probably, I don't know if Exar Kun is canon anymore, but if not, then I would say Dooku. No one really talks about Dooku much. What do you think about Kylo Ren now and going forward with the next 2 movies? I honestly am fascinated by Kylo Ren's character, and I fell in love with his character in that scene where he's talking to Vader's helmet and he says, "Forgive me, I feel it again, the pull to the light." This is the first time in any Star Wars movie we've had a character who is dark side but is being tempted by the light and is actively trying to resist that temptation. We've never seen that before. It's always been a light side person being tempted by the dark side. And this is just such an interesting role reversal that I'm fascinated to see how his mental state plays out in episodes 8 and 9. You once mentioned that you were thinking of doing your own builds. Would you ever consider doing a lightsaber similar to this sword? Probably not. Sorry. Who's your favorite sequel trilogy character? Probably Kylo Ren, again because of the reasons I mentioned. What will you be charging for NeoPixels? I do not offer NeoPixels. Sorry. Have you made any cool hilts with your lathe yet? Yes, I have made this one. I still have to bore it out, but that should be coming along soon, and then I get to install it, and whee! What are your feelings on life, the universe, and everything? 42. If you were living in the Star Wars universe, who do you think you would be, or what would you be doing? I'd like to think that I would be a Jedi, but I'd probably just be driving a space freighter or something. Hey man, I'm local. When can we get together for lunch? Whenever you want! When you did the Illuminated Saber Threshold install, which MHS speaker grill cover did you use? Was it hard to install? I used the MPS insert number 1, and it was pretty easy. The install itself was relatively straightforward. What is the extent of your relationship with Saber Forge at the moment, and what kind of a history do you have with the company? At the moment, I don't have any official relationship. A couple months back, they commissioned me to make some custom sound fonts for use on their new Sabercore 3.0 soundboard. And in the past, in 2015 to 16, I believe it was, I worked for them offsite as a customer service representative. Will you stab yourself again, but this time on YouTube? No. What is the build that you are most proud of? Sauron's Wrath. Do you think Star Wars is going to become oversaturated like superhero movies? God, I sure hope not. What do you think is going to be the next big saber accessory, like how crystal chambers became a thing? Not a clue! Since Mandalorian steel is impervious to lightsaber blades, what are your thoughts on a saber and shield fighting style? It's not my personal cup of tea, but if it works for you, then power to you. When you accept a commission for an install, which saber do you always look forward to doing over the rest? Conversely, which sabers offer the biggest challenge? I'm lazy. I like easy installs, so anytime I get a Saber Forge commission, those are quite fun because it's all the same inner diameter, it's the same switch hole size, I don't really have to do anything fancy, it's just straightforward and pretty simple. I can bang it out in an hour or 2, depending on what it is. So I always enjoy doing easy stuff because I'm lazy! And the biggest challenge is anytime that it's something brand new. So it's a new hilt design. I don't know what the internal chassis, internal diameter size is. Gotta figure out what the chassis is. How do I mount the switch? This is something new. It's not just a 12mm AV switch hole. I gotta mount a tactile switch somewhere. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Or I gotta do some custom machining or custom paint work. Anything that involves something beyond just a standard install, those are challenging, but rewarding because I get to expand my skill set. Did the person who invented college go to college? I have no idea. Best skills you've picked up since starting? How to work a lathe. What is your name? Shameem Moshrefzadeh. What is your favorite color? Blue. Thoughts and opinions on how the Saber game has changed since The Force Awakens came out, and how you think the hobby will continue to change throughout the release of all the upcoming movies. A bunch of new Saber installers have cropped up over the last year or 2. Some of them have faded into nothingness, and some of them have made a very good name for themselves and have stuck around. So that's great. We got new people enriching the community with new skills, new talents, new ideas, new artistic sensibilities, which is great. Every day we're getting more and more people joining the lightsaber groups on Facebook. So it's just expanding from a couple thousand to over 20,000. It's crazy. I hope that technology and artistry continue to grow hand in hand with each other to keep pushing everything in this community forward. What is your favorite thing that has come from the hobby changing over the last few years? What are your favorite improvements? Crystal focus style motion sensing on the lower tier boards, Prism, Nano, and Pico. What are your thoughts on Christian Gale? He's a I hate how amazing he is at weathering lightsaber. He's just so good at weathering lightsabers. And I hate you, Christian. Stop being so amazing. What's your opinion on Disney using the Graflex stunt in the Last Jedi movie posters? I hate the The Last Jedi stunt Graflex. It's ugly as all get out. But I've also just accepted and resigned myself to the fact that Saber inconsistencies are part and parcel to Star Wars. Have always been and always will be. How's the Harry Potter sound font coming along? It's nearing completion! Is it possible to order a custom sound? Will you do a video walkthrough loading the sound files onto the card and maybe a troubleshooting video? I generally do accept commissions for custom sound fonts, but I'm not accepting any more for the rest of the year as I'm fully booked up. As for how to install sound fonts onto your soundboard, please see the manual for whatever soundboard you're using. There will be instructions in there. Is there a lightsaber out there that you're looking forward to adding to your personal collection, and why? I have a Rancor Tooth lightsaber coming in from Javaho Creations, and I'm super excited about that because Tanelka is my favorite Expanded Universe Legends character, and she has a Rancor Tooth lightsaber hilt, which is super awesome. What is your opinion on the control box on the Saber Forge Redeemer? I think it's fine. I really don't like how the side rails are glued on to the Prodigal Son and the Redeemer control boxes, but last time I talked with Phil, he said that he was redesigning those control boxes to make them one piece, so the rails are one piece and part of the box permanently, which I think is a great thing. I know you mentioned making some changes in how you run your custom saber services. What's one change that you think will help you and other potential smiths enjoy this without it becoming too taxing or becoming a burden? How to keep the joy in the work and the hobby. I'm going to be much more selective about what kinds of commissions I take on, so I won't be taking on everything that comes my way. I'll only take on things that I have personal interest in doing or that I think I can bang out pretty quickly. I also want to make it a bit clearer going forward that, you know, Saber installs are not my 9 to 5. I do this, I squeeze Saber installs in between other work and life and family responsibilities, and Saber commissions will essentially get done whenever they get done. And if that doesn't work for you, power to you, find another installer. What is your favorite food? Pizza and French fries, but not together. What is your favorite piece of Star Wars? A novel, a film, animated series, video game? Knights of the Old Republic. What do you feel qualifies you to be a sabersmith? What is your standard to be considered one? I actually try not to refer to myself as a sabersmith because the term smith, at least to me, implies some level of machining and manufacturing of the lightsaber hilt itself. Going back to like a blacksmith who actually manually makes the swords and things or the things that he's doing. So I don't call myself a sabersmith. A lot of other people do because it's just an easy term to throw around. I prefer to refer to myself as a saber installer or a saber customizer because really 99% of what I do is taking existing lightsaber hilts and customizing them, either on the exterior with modifications or on the interior with custom sound and electronics. I now have a lathe and I've made a first prototype, so I mean, yay, I'm inching towards being able to call myself a sabersmith, but until I think I do my first run of actual saber hilts, I wouldn't feel comfortable claiming the title of sabersmith for myself personally. What is your least favorite Star Wars film? Attack of the Clones. What side of the Force do you identify with? The light side. Yeah, more so light side than the dark side, definitely. Though there's definitely elements of the Jedi Council, Jedi Order philosophy from prequel trilogy era that I disagree with and I don't like. And so something more akin to Legends Expanded Universe New Jedi Order, Luke's new Jedi Order that he founds, is more to my taste. So if I were to be a Jedi, I'd want to live during that time period and with Luke as my Grandmaster rather than with Yoda as my Grandmaster. How do you balance saber commissions and free time? Very poorly. Have you and Jordan Mole ever had a TSL match? And if so, how did it go? I don't believe we ever have. We've been to a whole bunch of TSL events together, but I don't think we've ever geared up and fought each other. How many sabers do you own? A lot. It's hard to give a number because some of them are in various states of repair, upgrade, or other customization work, so it's hard to give a full number. I'd guesstimate 40. How does a saber go from beautiful to gorgeous? Jordan Mole touches it. Wood or aluminum hilt? Aluminum? What is your opinion on inexpensive yet high-quality companies like Saber Trio, Electrum Sabers? I think that everything has its place, and everything can fill a specific niche within the community, which is great. More competition, more options. I see no downside to that. Where do you find inspiration for creation of non-film specific sound fonts? Basically, it's stuff that I would want to hear myself or that I think would sound cool coming out of a lightsaber. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on my first Q&A session here on YouTube. Many thanks to everyone who submitted questions to me on Facebook. I had a blast doing it and answering your questions, and I look forward to continuing these conversations with you on Facebook, on YouTube, and abroad. Thank you all again so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.